One of my absolute favorite ways of learning more about self-publishing and to make sure that I'm on track is to follow the best blogs on the market. And the thing is, all these blogs are free, so you don't have to pay anything to get all of the strategies, the nuggets, all of the stuff that goes into making blogs so effective. And that is exactly why today we are going to talk about the best self-publishing blogs. This is Chris Baird from selfpublishingmadeeasynow.com, where self-publishing doesn't have to be so hard. So what exactly are the best self-publishing blogs for authors? Well, I'm going to go through a number of blogs, some of them in more detail than others, and some of them that I follow very closely for many years, and some that are a little bit newer for me. So the first one I would highly recommend is the Self-Publishing Made Easy Now blog. A lot of the content that I produce, I also put content directly on my blog where I go through the very concepts that we discuss on this YouTube or podcast or however you happen to be viewing it. So I would definitely recommend checking it out. I explore the absolute best strategies for getting your book formatted and selling. We go through all of the tools that are necessary in order to do this, and I even work together with many clients in order to help you get your book onto the market and figure out why exactly it is or isn't selling and how to boost the sales that you're getting. So that would be the first recommendation with Self-Publishing Made Easy Now blog. The second blog I'm going to recommend is the Lulu blog. You know, for many years I've been supporting Lulu with regards to hardcover books, getting my hardcover books onto Lulu and then moving it through there. Well, the other thing is that Lulu, they provide a blog that goes through a lot of the strategies and challenges that you're going to face as authors, as self-published authors when moving through the process. When you first come in contact with all of the 1,000 strategies available, it can be quite confusing, and the Lulu blog will definitely help sort that out for you. The next one is the Ingram Spark blog, and I'm telling you, of all places to sell your book, I always say Ingram Spark after Amazon is by far my favorite pick of locations. I don't know what the deal is, but they sell a lot of books, so it is definitely worth your time. And their blog, it goes through a lot of the key strategies that they themselves are using and that they recommend for authors, because the more copies you sell, the more money they make as well. So it is in their interest to share those very same strategies with you. The next one is the Writer's Digest. Now, this is one that I have not explored as fully as the other ones, but I can see that it goes into a lot of the writing practice as well, showing you exactly what types of writing you should do in order to create books that your readers are going to love. After this comes BookBaby blog. Now, many people know BookBaby based on the promotions that they do, and I think I've had at least one of my books a while back that was through one of the promotions on BookBaby. So this is definitely a good place to go. They know what it gets to get readers to click on your titles. They go through thousands and hundreds of thousands of books in order to find the absolute best books that are going to result in the maximum number of sales, because when they do that, they ensure that you win as well. So it is in their interest to stay on top of all the latest strategies, and what better place than their blog to find out more about that. Then comes Kristen Lamb, and I would definitely recommend her blog. She goes through more of her personal side, her story as an author as well as a best-selling author in terms of a number of the things and also the strategies that she is continually finding out. One thing in common with all of these blogs is that they do share some of the same tips, but from different angles. And sometimes it resonates with us. Sometimes we have to hear the same thing over and over about 8 to 10 times before we go, you know what, maybe I should put this in action. And that's the reason why we have so many blogs we want to discuss. Number 7. That would be the Mark Coker, the Smashwords blog. Now, Smashwords has been purchased by Draft2Digital. This is a really helpful blog as well in terms of exploring a lot of the themes and challenges that authors face on a regular basis as a self-published author. The next one is the number 8. That would be the Jane Friedman blog. So, also dealing with an author putting out all the best tips and tricks when it comes to self-publishing and specific strategies, but also in terms of the craft itself of the writing side of things. Then comes David Goggin, if I pronounce the name correctly. Sometimes Gogren, I meant to say. This is one that I only recently discovered, but I found his advice to be incredibly helpful in the self-publishing area as he was going through a whole series of different dimensions to it. I think recently one of the ones was looking at some of the tools chat GDP and AI and the nature of this, how powerful these things are when you're learning self-publishing. The next one is one that I know really well, which is number 10, the Creative Pen. And I have been following her podcast and a number of other things with regards to Joanne Penn's writings and seeing exactly what she's up to. Very helpful material, and this blog also goes through. She also mentions a lot of the other blogs that I mentioned and as they go through and discuss, but everybody has a different take, and she's one that I definitely trust, and I've corresponded a little bit on Twitter with her as well in the past several years. So I think it's definitely worth a check. Maybe one of my upper recommendations of the entire list. Then comes number 11, let's see here, which one was this? It was Power Writing Aid. Pro Writing Aid, I meant to say. And Pro Writing Aid is something that I have also a lifetime membership to. It's a tool that while I recommend one of the other ones below it more so, but it definitely is a tool that will identify all sorts of structural and issues that you may be having with your book. You put it into this tool and it just rips it apart, and it's able to find lots of things that you could change or at least consider to change, like your sentences that are too long or difficult to read, or you're repeating the same words and phrases too many times. It looks for using passive voice, all of these sorts of things. It's able to go in there and highlight every one of those, and then you can go through it and see what issues should be fixed when it comes to your writing to make sure that it fits together and flows smoothly when you're working it through. And that is Pro Writing Aid, and they have a blog that also goes through a lot of the same concepts that you can explore there. Then comes another favorite of mine, which would be Kindlepreneur. And the Kindlepreneur, over the years, I use all the tools that he recommends. I've gone through a lot of the different things that he has. He has a pile of free courses showing you how to do ads and all sorts of other resources that are very powerful. But he also just goes through the challenges and struggles of being a self-published author, and what does it take in order to succeed. He looks very much at the data side of things, and I find that aspect to be incredibly helpful. Then comes my favorite tool, which is Grammarly, in terms of taking your book and finding all sorts of issues and mistakes that you've been making on your book, and then making it so easy to fix those exact issues. Grammarly is a fantastic tool. It's one that I also recommend. You can find my affiliate link below in the description. This is one I highly recommend. If you are not using it, at least test it out. It is just that powerful of a tool, and they have a blog that also discusses a lot of the different aspects when it comes to how do we make sure that our manuscripts are as good as possible. A lot of the different things that it's checking for and fixing, both in the free version and in their premium paid version for Grammarly. You will find that it will find all sorts of mistakes. I rarely disagree with what Grammarly suggests, and by the end of going through large documents and fixing things, you will find that Grammarly is going to really make your writings, whether short stories or poems or long novels, it's going to make them pop. It fixes everything. It's a really, really fantastic tool. I can't recommend them more of many of the tools that I regularly recommend. Grammarly is definitely worth a check if you have not already done it. Also, it works together with Google Documents, and their blog goes into a lot of this material. Moving on to number 14, the Alliance of Independent Authors blog, or ALLI. The reason I recommend them is for a number of reasons. One, they are always on the top of the latest strategies. They are really the first people who are out on this one, and their interest is for the advocating for exactly writers like yourself. I also am not only a beginner level, but a level 2 member of ALLI, and I can tell you one thing that I really love with them. It's that they have a deal with Ingram Spark, like we mentioned earlier, but with Ingram Spark where you get so and so many free promo codes a month that you can use on your books on Ingram Spark. Amazing deal in its own right. That alone is worth the price of the membership that you get with them. But in addition, they have a whole pile of services and all sorts of deals and offers and courses and things like that. And their blog, it goes through the absolute best strategies as we're exploring this together. Keep in mind, with self-publishing, this is not something that is the same today as it was 5 years ago. It's almost 100 years in self-publishing time, and that's one of the reasons why you want to consider reading the Alliance of Independent Authors blog you'll find on the internet. And moving on to number 15, that is the passive voice. This one is probably cited more often by all of the other blogs that I mentioned above than anything else I've ever heard. In fact, I've been following them for quite some time and listening. All of the latest and greatest things going on in the publishing and in the self-publishing world, you will find them coming through the passive voice. Particularly right now, the earthquake that ChatGPT and AI is having on the self-publishing and publishing community, it is so massive. And the passive voice is a fantastic place for finding the absolute cutting news of what's happening. Like they're charging, it's going to be charging soon, for example. It's one of their latest blogs. Really high quality material. Passive voice is probably the most mentioned of all of the blogs that I mentioned here. And so you definitely should check them out. But one of the things you'll see with all of these 15 different blogs that I mentioned in conclusion, it's that each of these blogs has things that it brings to the table. And you should use something like Feedly is what I use. I pull all these blogs into a single location so that I can follow along and see what exactly is happening in the self-publishing world. This is not something where you just learn a few skills and then you're good to go. No, if you wish to make sales, you're going to need to expose yourself to the fire hose that these blogs produce in terms of strategies, in terms of tips on writing itself and the art and the covers. We have the creative side, and then we also have the digital, the data side, the ads, the revenue, the financial side, setting up your business around this as you see the sales start coming in, how to find and hire new people to work for you so that you could produce more books using the very strategies that I discuss on this channel and that you find in the blogs that are mentioned above. And so if you put all of this together, you're going to find a really powerful combination. So I would suggest at least subscribing to a few of them. Self-Publishing Made Easy Now blog, of course. I'd have to recommend that. And the thing I want to know from you is, what blogs are you currently reading? Let me know below in the comments, and check up above me here for more video answers to your self-publishing questions. Thanks.